Hi everyone, Mega Shorts here, bringing you my first Justice League movie action figure review, and today we're going to be taking a look at one of the figures from Mattel's basic 6-inch Justice League movie figure line, and this is the Aquaman figure from Wave 1. Now, even though the Justice League movie is still 4 months away, the first figures from the movie have just started to appear in stores across the pond over in the US, and also just this week here in the UK. I managed to get this Aquaman figure from Smyths for $12.99. While I was in there, I also saw a few other figures from the movie, including some more of the basic figures like Superman, Batman and Wonder Woman. I didn't see Cyborg and Flash, but I think those are coming out in a later wave of these figures, presumably later on this year. They only had one of Aquaman and one of Wonder Woman, so I decided to pick both of them up while I had the chance, seeing as they had a couple of Batman and Superman, which I guess are a bit easier to find, or will be a bit easier to find. Now, the packaging you get with this particular figure of Aquaman is pretty much the same as the packaging you get with all the other figures in this wave. On the top of the front we have the new DC logo. Below that we have the logo for the movie, along with the symbols for each of the main heroes that have been confirmed for the movie so far, including Superman. Below that we have the figure and its accessories in a clear plastic bubble, which has been designed to look like one of the mother boxes which we first saw in Batman v Superman last year. Then on the back we have a picture of the figure posed with its accessories, and then below that we have loads of different product and company information in different languages. And that's it for the packaging. Okay, so here we have the Aquaman figure with its accessories, including the trident and some sort of water weapon. Now, we've already got a few figures of Aquaman as played by Jason Momoa in the DCEU from Batman v Superman, but this new figure of him from Justice League is completely new. It doesn't reuse any parts from the existing Aquaman figures, so if you've already got those that came from the Batman v Superman movie, this one gives you something a bit different. Now, as usual for my action figure reviews, I'm going to start off by talking about the sculpt of this figure. And I have to say, even though this isn't one of the DC Multiverse movie figures, which are usually much more expensive and more detailed than these basic figures, I have to say the sculpt of this figure is really, really good. I'm really, really impressed with it so far. And in my opinion, of all the Aquaman figures we've had so far from the DCEU, this one has easily the best likeness to Jason Momoa as Aquaman to me. I don't know about you guys, but this looks pretty much just like Jason Momoa. He's got the really good grumpy facial expression, which he has through pretty much most of the trailers and promotional art we've seen so far, although he has cracked a few jokes in the trailer so far, so he isn't just going to be a grumpy god of the sea in the movie. The hair is pretty much all dark brown on the back here, but as you can see at the front it has been given a little bit of light brown shading there, which to me looks a bit odd just on the front. I would have expected them to carry it onto the sides and on the back, but hey ho, still a really good head sculpt. I think the face has been done really, really well. Again, I think this is 10 times better than the other Aquaman head sculpts we've seen on Mattel's figures of him so far. However, if you look closely at the beard, you can see that not quite all of it has been painted where it should be, just around the lips there. But from a little bit further back, you can't really tell. So it's okay, but that's something you'd probably want to look out for if you are buying this figure. I guess it's not a problem all across the board on these Aquaman figures. I'm sure there are some out there that have the beard fully painted, but it's just something that I've noticed on mine. Moving down onto the costume now, obviously this is his main battle suit, which I guess he'll be wearing throughout most of the movie. Quite a bit different to how we saw him in Batman v Superman, where he was pretty much just shirtless with a little bit of shoulder armour and a lot of tattoos, so he's a lot more ready for battle in this one. You can see that the sculpt of the suit on this is done really well. Loads of sculpted detail all over the body. Got his symbol down there on the waist, and lots of metallic green on the front here. Not so much on the back because most of it is gold. However, there is a bit more down here as well. To be honest, I would say the paint is a little bit lacking on this figure, especially on the costume. You've got a really nice metallic green going on the chest here and on the arms and parts of the legs, but the gold is done with this quite dull matte paint, which to me just doesn't really look all that eye-catching. It kind of makes the figure look quite dull, but on the DC Multiverse figure, that one has quite a lot of more shiny gold parts to it, and it just looks a little bit more like how his costume does in the movie and in the trailers we've seen so far. But To me, this just doesn't quite do it. I really like the metallic green paint they've gone for, but the paint for the gold just doesn't quite make the figure look as good as I think it could do, though. Really, really good sculpt. I just think the paint is just perhaps not quite as it should be. But overall, in terms of the sculpt, I'm really, really actually quite impressed with this figure so far, especially with the head sculpt. Now, even though these basic Justice League movie figures may not quite be as articulated as the DC Multiverse figures from the movie, their articulation is miles better than the basic Batman v Superman movie figures. The head of the Aquaman figure can go from side to side, even though he's got the long hair. Because it's made of a relatively soft plastic, you can still move it around a good bit. The head is also on a ball joint, so it can move up and down a little bit as well. The arms also have ball jointed shoulders, which is something we didn't get on any of the basic Batman v Superman figures, so you can move them all the way outwards like so, and you can also move them all the way around from there. The arms also have bicep swivel joints, where they can turn all the way around, and they can move up and down the elbows as well. The wrists, like the DC Multiverse figures, also have swivel joints where they can twist all the way around, and they also have hinged wrists, so you can move them backwards and forwards as well. And I think that's something that the DC Multiverse figures from the movie actually don't have, surprisingly. And moving on to the lower body now, he also has a waist joint where he can turn all the way around. And then down there you have pretty much the usual basic DC movie figure articulation, so the legs can go all the way back and forth from the top, up and down at the knees, and that's pretty much it. Overall, I'm really pleased with the articulation on this figure. I think it's miles better than the articulation we got on the basic Batman v Superman figures, which were very, very limited in terms of their posability. I'm really glad they've given the arms the ball jointed shoulders and the bicep swivel joints as well, and the hinged wrists are a really nice touch as well. To be honest, I would have been a bit happier with the figure if they had given him some thigh swivel joints maybe, or maybe some swivel joints at the knees, and maybe a joint at the ankle as well, so you could get a little bit more movement out of the legs. But overall, I wouldn't say the articulation is all that bad at all on this figure. I think it is really good considering the price range for this figure, and it definitely makes this figure a lot better than the basic Batman v Superman Aquaman figures we had last year. Okay, so first we're going to take a quick look at his trident. Not really all that much to say about it, to be honest. It's just been painted with the same gold all over, but it has got some really nice sculpted detail, especially along the bottom here, and it does fit into the figure's hands quite nicely. I quite like just having him stood with it like this, but you can also get him into some quite good poses as if he's about to throw it against an enemy as well. Just have to get the... there you go. Something like that, maybe the wrong way round, but it gives you an idea of some of the poses you can get this figure into really, and it definitely shows off that arm articulation quite nicely as well. No complaints for the trident, to be honest. It is what it is really, and it's pretty accurate to how it looks in the movie. Then last but not least, for the accessories, we have the water weapon, which, to be honest, I wouldn't say was really necessary for this figure. I would have been just fine with it if it just came with his trident, but it is quite nicely done, I guess, for what it is. It's been done with quite a nice bright blue translucent plastic, plus it has got a little bit of sculpted detail along the handle down here, and I guess given his superpowers, he may make something like this in the movie. I'm not sure. We'll have to wait until November to find out. Okay, so overall, I think Mattel's basic Justice League movie Aquaman figure is a pretty good addition to my collection. I wouldn't say this figure is an absolute must-have, but I wouldn't say it's a bad figure by any means. I think the head sculpt is easily the best one that Mattel have given us of Jason Momoa as Aquaman so far. I really like all the sculpted detail on the costume. I think that turned out really well, and I think the articulation on this figure is pretty good as well. It's a lot more than I previously expected for this figure. My only gripes with this figure really are the lack of articulation on the legs and also the gold on the costume. I would have liked that a lot more if it looked a bit more metallic, if it was done with some sort of different paint to what we've got here, which is quite a dull matte paint, which makes the costume look more brown and green rather than gold and green. And from me, this figure gets a very well earned 7 out of 10. A pretty good figure with some really nice sculpted detail, a good likeness to Jason Momoa, and some pretty good articulation, making it a lot more poseable than some of the Batman v Superman Aquaman figures we got last year. But again, I would have liked it a bit more if the paint for the gold was a bit more metallic, and I would have liked to have seen a little bit more articulation on the legs as well. And that is pretty much it for my review of the basic Justice League movie Aquaman figure. Hope you've all enjoyed watching this review. If you want to share your thoughts on this figure, you can do so in the comment section below. And my next review will probably be of the Doctor Who B&M exclusive 4th Doctor Collector set, which has come out recently, but I may do some more reviews of other Justice League figures from the movie, like the basic Wonder Woman figure, at some point soon as well. Thanks for watching this review, guys, and I will see you again soon.